my opinion, New Zealand is one of the most beautiful places in the world. You have a rich history in Maori culture and a rugby team with a chant scary enough to keep you away. But if a place is too good to be true, then it probably is, because this country is one of the scariest ones I've ever looked at. I'm your host Andrew, and here are your top 10 New Zealand scary urban legends. At number 10 spot, we have the Three Witches of Auckland. In the heart of Auckland is a public park known as Auckland Domain, and apart from this beautiful green scenery, this place has a darker history attached to it. Inside of this park is a sculpture that is quite different from others you may see. That's because this sculpture is of the three witches who were brutally executed inside of the park during the early 1800s. I mean, this was a time where witchcraft was believed by many, and unfortunately a lot of people would fall victim to this. So sometime during the 1800s, three accused witches were caught by the townsfolk and were hanged inside of the park. From what we know now, these people were probably just completely normal human beings, and due to this unjust death, it's said that their spirits still wander the park grounds. In some parts of the park, visitors report hearing distant cackling made by a group of ladies, and others report seeing a tall, thin figure wandering throughout the trees. If you go too deep in the woods at night, it's no surprise if you come out covered in cuts and scratches, as if something has scratched you with long, sharp claws, and many believe these are the witches. At a number 9 spot, we have Napier Prison. Located in Napier Hill is the Napier Prison, which was built in 1862 and lasted over 130 years until it closed in 1993. Surprisingly enough, this prison was once used as an orphanage and then a psychiatric hospital. So it's really no surprise at all that this place is considered one of the most haunted places in all of New Zealand. During the time it was active, this place was the last place many people saw in their lives because many death sentences were done inside of this prison. The most notorious of the death sentences was the one given to Roland Edwards. He was a mass murderer who was sentenced to death in the gallows, but ever since this happened, he has been said to haunt the prison with a special appearance on the anniversary of his death. He passed away on July 15th, so this is when many paranormal investigators visit the prison for the chance to speak to Roland. Now, there are ghost tours that go through the prison, but make sure you never go alone, because nighttime security guards often report unexplained footsteps and doors slamming on their own when they walk the grounds. At number 8 spot, we have Harbour Bridge. Located in Auckland is the Auckland Harbour Bridge. The 8-lane stretch of road is New Zealand's largest bridge, but it also could be one of the most haunted. Story goes that in the early 1980s, a man was found dead just underneath the bridge. After an autopsy, it was discovered that he had drowned after an accident caused him to fall into the water. Now, some people who have visited the bridge have reported to see the apparition of this man either walking on top of the bridge or swimming below with only his face peeking out. And this might not be the only ghost at the bridge, because during its construction, 4 workers fell to their deaths under the bridge as well. However, none of their bodies were recovered. So if you happen to be driving over this bridge, I would advise you not to look down and just be sure to stop for nothing. At a number 7 spot, we have the Sea Cliff Lunatic Asylum. In Sea Cliff, New Zealand lies one of the most haunted asylums in the world. It's so haunted that the forest surrounding the place is known as the Enchanted Forest or the Haunted Forest. This is for the amount of spirits that come from the jail into the neighboring woods. This asylum was very notorious for having many structural issues. This included a partial collapse throughout the prison, but the worst was the constant fires that would erupt inside of the place. One of the fires in 1942 swept through Ward 5, which was a wooden outbuilding, and unfortunately the fire trapped many inside, resulting in the deaths of over 37 female patients who didn't even get a chance to escape. Apart from the fire, this asylum treated their patients very wrong. Many were abused while others were misdiagnosed and had to spend years of their lives inside of this hellhole. Most of the old buildings on the land were demolished in 1992 due to structural defaults and are now gone. The last few hospital buildings outside the reserve have now been renovated, and a family now resides on the private property. However, there are still reports claiming to see the former patient's apparitions, but they don't seem to be very hostile. It's just very sad. At number 6 spot, we have St. James Theatre. In the capital city of Wellington lies the St. James Theatre, which opened its doors to the original Royal New Zealand Ballet in 1912. After being open for over 100 years, there were bound to be a few ghosts who found this place as a home. One of the ghosts many staff members report include the ghost of a Russian dancer named Yuri. Story goes that this dancer passed away after faulty equipment caused him to fall from the theater's rigging. However, another darker side to the story suggests that it wasn't an accident and instead he was pushed by a fellow performer named Pasha. And you may think he came back as a very vengeful spirit, especially if he was pushed out, but that's just not the case. Apparently Yuri has saved the lives of one of the workers after pushing them out of harm's way. However, the majority of ghosts inside of the theater are not as good as Yuri. Another notable ghost is the Wailing Woman, who is said to be an old actress who ended her life in the theater after being booed. Now she is said to cause misfortune and bad luck to any girl that disrespects her. Right in the hump of our list we have the Watamo Caves Hotel. The Watamo Caves Hotel was constructed on a hill in 1908 and it was refurbished 20 years later to accommodate more guests because of the increased popularity of the underlying Watamo glowworm caves. But before the hotel, the site served another role. It was sacred land to the Maori and it is supposed to be inhabited by the Tanewa, which is a guardian or entity who lurks in deep pools and rivers, dark caves, and even at sea. Another entity that inhabited the area were the Patuparihi. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing that, but these guys were pale-skinned creatures who were said to lure people to their deaths, kinda like how sirens do when they play mesmerizing music and they sing. Visitors of the hotel haven't had a best time at the place due to the supernatural activity that happens within. Lights begin to flicker when you stay in the hotel for too long, and others report a strange force as if someone is walking right through them. Guess I know where to book in order to finally feel something. Number 4, Spirits of Ross Island. This one doesn't happen directly in New Zealand, rather it involves New Zealand residents and their airlines. In November 1979, Air New Zealand Flight 901 would fly right into Mount Erebus on Ross Island, Antarctica. This crash killed all 237 passengers on board and 20 crew. Instead of leaving them in the cold, the bodies were found kept at the McMurdo station nearby. Those who visit the base leave with a feeling of unease and discomfort, similar to the feeling that they're trespassing in a place they're not wanted. People have reported hearing strange voices, feeling as though they're not alone, and having seen footsteps in the snow when there's no one else around. At number 3 spot, we have the Watapu. This is a private beach located in West Auckland coastline. At first glance, this place is a sight for sore eyes, and I guarantee many of us have seen these photos on some type of travel website. However, the history of this place will make you think twice before going on your next beach day. Over its years, the region has been a place of murder, people taking their own lives, and various drownings. For example, in 1863, just outside of the beach, a ship named the HMS Orpheus encountered heavy waves, which eventually broke the ship apart, causing the deaths of 189 people. This would be New Zealand's worst maritime disaster to this day. Ever since this disaster, people have seen many of the ghosts along the coastlines. Others see ghost ships that appear and disappear out of nowhere, while others claim to see the bodies floating and peeking out of the water, looking towards the beaches. At number 2 spot, with the Maori warrior mask. For those who don't know, the Maori people are the indigenous Polynesian people of New Zealand. They were well known for sculpting facial masks prior to fighting in a war. These masks were not only made for art, but to honor their ancestors. Any man who passed away during the battle while wearing these masks is said to have left his soul behind as well. Overall, Maori masks were employed to protect a person's soul. Experts have discovered a number of Maori masks that were previously belonged to very noble soldiers. They say that Maori masks are in fact cursed though. The curse itself is not dangerous to men, however for women who are pregnant, they have a different story. They should avoid touching or wearing them since they are harmful and will bring ill luck to them. A British museum took this warning very seriously, posting signs about the curse to warn all women. Maori tradition dictates that a pregnant or menstruating woman is tapu or taboo, and so are the artifacts, meaning that if the two come in contact, a curse may be invoked. At our number 1 spot, we have the Vulcan Hotel. Located in St. Bathans is another one of New Zealand's most haunted hotels, except this one may be a little bit more disturbing than the other ones. Story goes that a young courtesan named Rosie worked at the hotel back in the gold rush days in the 1860s. She was loved by many, but I mean, that was her occupation. Back in those days, there were many lonely miners, so she was there to keep many of them company, but it seems like she kept too many of these men a bit too close to her. Then one day, they found her dead with all of her gold being taken as well. Now her ghost is still lurking the hotel seeking justice. Guests claim to see her sitting on the edge of their bed in the middle of the night based on the additional weight they feel, as well as seeing her walk straight up in and out of rooms and also standing in the middle room just staring at you. Well, these are the top 10 New Zealand scary urban legends. What do you guys think about this list? Leave a comment down below, but don't forget to like and subscribe for some more content. I'm your host Andrew, and I hope you guys have a scary day.